New York State Rifle and Pistol Association. This is going to be the one where we're going to be walking to the subway, and there's going to be dudes just walking around with their rifles just to normalize it, essentially.
Yeah, and this goes to the earlier point about, the justices aren't elected. We have many elected officials, and they have split on concealed carry. Most of the states allow concealed carry if you have a gun permit, but a number of them, including New York and California, do not. Congress has tried over and over again to pass a nationwide right to concealed carry, but Republicans couldn't get it over the finish line. So what do? They go to the Supreme Court and they say, hey, because we can't pass this bill, how about you just basically enact legislation, call it a ruling under the Second Amendment that everyone in every state has a right to carry a concealed weapon in public. And that's what the court is going to do in New York, strike down New York's ban, in the process strike down California's ban, a number of other states. These bans are linked to lower gun violence, so this decision will have a cost in human lives, but the court doesn't care because we can't vote them out, so they don't face the consequences of their own rulings.
And lastly, Kennedy versus, is it Brenton? This
Bremerton.
is the one, Bremerton. This is the one from, is it in Seattle? Or
outside of Seattle.
A coach was made a practice of, after a football game, to go into the center of the field and begin to pray. And some kids started joining him, and then it became a thing. And then you started to feel ostracized if you weren't involving yourself in this prayer with the coach for the football team. And so he's basically told not to do it anymore, and he kept doing it.
And now he's arguing that he has a First Amendment right to engage in coercive Christian prayer during and in the course of his job duties on a public school campus. And the court's going to agree with him. And, as obnoxious as the facts of this case are, because he and his lawyers really just lied to the court about what was going on. They pretended that it was silent, that it wasn't coercive. But the bigger threat is that the court's going to use the First Amendment to bring religious prayer back into public schools after outlawing it for 60 years. The court's going to say, well, it's actually teachers' right to engage in Christian prayer at public schools. So we cannot prohibit it because the free speech clause guarantees it, essentially overruling decades of case law that says you're not allowed to pray in public schools because that ostracizes kids who don't agree and alienates non-believers. So it's another one of these backdoor cases where rather than overtly overturning a precedent, the court just creates a new set of rights that people can use to erode an old case that we had thought was settled law.
I mean, honestly, it makes me want to quit this job, go be a baseball coach, convert to Islam, force all the kids to say Muslim prayers just so we can bring this case and see how it goes in that instance.
You might be able to do it with Judaism even.
Well, yes, that's probably true too.
You could skip the conversion process.
I don't know. I want to see what happens when we get outside of the Christian Judeo civilization game and see if the judges would feel as sympathetic to religions that they did not subscribe to.
I will say we should not make the mistake of ever expecting principled consistency from this court. While I welcome a Muslim coach trying to exploit this decision to say Allahu Akbar on a football field, I am certain that if that happened, the 6 conservative justices would find a way to differentiate that case and say he doesn't have rights.
I really do hope that there is an organization out there who is looking for a plaintiff to go and test this, because I think we're now moving into an era where the project, I think, for even the legal institution from the center to the left needs to be bringing cases to show the average American just how corrupted and political the Supreme Court, I would argue, maybe has always been on some level, but particularly now.
Yeah, I mean, to borrow a football term, they are flooding the zone right now, and they are just taking up as many blockbuster cases as they can. Maybe they're worried that Clarence Thomas's heart is going to give him some more problems. So they're like, let's just get it all done. And that is what we're seeing right now.
Mark Joseph Stern, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it, as always. We'll put a link to a couple of pieces that you had at Slate, and maybe we'll be talking to you again after this deluge of cases. But I think it's been set up really well. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you. For better
Thanks,
or for
Mark.
worse, I hope to talk to you soon.